Good evening. If you're not hearing audio, please check your computer speaker settings or your phone microphone. If you are an elected or appointed official, please identify yourself in the Q&A box. The Q&A box appears on the right side of your screen. If you experience technical difficulties during the meeting, this presentation is recorded and is estimated to be posted on the project website by Wednesday, August 19th. Good evening, and welcome to the Woodbury Road Conceptual Analysis Kickoff and Preliminary Alternatives Public Meeting. My name is Blanche Hardy, and I am the Orange County Project Manager for this project. The study begins at the Lake Underhill Road intersection and ends at State Road 50, a distance of roughly 1.5 miles. This is the agenda for the presentation this evening. We will start with introductions and talk about the logistics of conducting this virtual public meeting. Then we will give an overview of the project, existing conditions, discuss access management and the alternatives that are being considered, discuss public engagement and the schedule, and then talk about the opportunities you have to provide us with feedback through a survey and public comment. Your Orange County District 4 Commissioner, Maribel Gomez Cordero, is here and would like to welcome you this evening. Commissioner?
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I am Commissioner Maribel Gomez Cordero. I want to thank you for attending this virtual meeting tonight. I hope you leave here with more information concerning the Woodbury Road RCA study. This process confirmed the need for transportation improvements, assesses the potential impact of such improvements on the community and the environment, and develops cost estimates. The completion of this process guides future project phases, which must be completed before a project is in place. I want to thank you again for being here and providing your feedback through questions and comments in the Q&A box. I am always at your service. Thank you.
David, are there any other elected officials that have indicated they are with us in the meeting?
No, Blanche, there aren't any other officials that have signed in.
Thank you. We'll start with introductions. Renzo Nastasi, the Orange County Transportation Planning Division Manager, and Brian Sanders, the Transportation Planning Division Assistant Manager, are with us this evening. I am Blanche Hardy, the county's project manager for the Woodbury Road RCA study. Our consultant for the project is Inwood Consulting Engineers, and David Dangle, serving as the consultant project manager, is with us. It is David's voice you will hear in addition to mine. Additional Orange County and consultant staff are also here and will remain through the question and answer period. I'll now review the logistics of the meeting. All attendees have been placed in listen-only mode during the presentation. You can type your comments and questions into the Q&A box at any time during the meeting. The Q&A box is located on the right side of your screen. At the conclusion of the presentation, the moderator will read the questions and our team of panelists will answer your questions. If you have additional questions after we have answered your initial question, please add them to the Q&A box. This meeting will last for 1 hour. If you have called in to the meeting with your phone, you will not be able to enter comments into the Q&A box. However, there are 3 methods to provide you options and to ask questions after the meeting. You can call or email the project contacts. This information is provided on the study website, on the newsletter, and at the end of this presentation. As many staff members are working remotely due to the pandemic, we encourage you to email to assure your questions and comments are received and processed as promptly as possible. You can complete a comment form on the study website. To do this, you just click on the Share Your Thoughts tab in the upper right-hand corner to open the comment form. We also have a survey that has been added to the website. We encourage everyone to complete the survey after the meeting is over. There are additional opportunities to provide comments within the survey. The purpose of the study is to identify context-sensitive and cost-feasible improvements, document and propose the need for the project, and balance the safety, mobility, and comfort needs of all users. Consideration is given to all modes of transportation, including automobiles, pedestrians, cyclists, freight, and transit. Development of alternatives is an interactive process that allows input from each phase of the process to influence the other phases. The items on the right side of the screen are the engineering and analysis factors that are considered in the study process. Public involvement and input are an important aspect of all steps of the project development process. The following slides will provide an overview of the existing conditions along the project. The items listed on the screen will be addressed. Currently, the roadway is a two-lane, undivided urban roadway with curb and gutter. It is relatively flat, except for the bridge over State Road 408. Turn lanes are provided at most intersections. Near the north end of the project, approaching State Road 50, the roadway widens to 4 lanes. The speed limit is 40 miles per hour within the project limits. Land adjacent to the project is mostly developed, primarily with single-family homes and apartment complexes. There are 2 schools, Waterford Elementary School and Discovery Middle School, located adjacent to the Lake Underhill and Woodbury Road intersection. There are also commercial uses and 3 churches within the project limits. A complete street is a street for everyone. It is designed to enable safe access for all users, including pedestrians, bicyclists, motorists, and transit riders of all ages and abilities. Within the project corridor, continuous sidewalk is provided along the west side of the road for pedestrians. However, sidewalk on the east side is only provided from Waterford Lakes Parkway to Woodbury Cove Drive. Facilities for bicycles are not currently provided, except at the north end of the project where bike lanes exist approaching State Road 50. Lynx operates 2 bus routes serving Woodbury Road between Waterford Lake Parkway and State Road 50. They are Lynx 320, the Avalon Park School Connector, which has a stop at Waterford Lakes Parkway, and Neighborhood Link 621, which is a flex service route providing curb-to-curb service to Bithlow and Wedgefield. The project is located within the Little Econochahatchee drainage basin, and water flows east of the Little Econochahatchee River. The project includes 6 drainage basins. Treatment and attenuation for drainage from Woodbury Road and adjacent subdivisions is provided through joint-use ponds. Woodbury Road also has a concrete box culvert for an Orange County canal that crosses under the roadway. As the floodplain map shows, the 100-year floodplain touches Woodbury Road just south and east of the Lake Underhill Road intersection. The rest of the project is located outside the 100-year floodplain. There are currently 9 existing stormwater ponds, highlighted in yellow, that receive runoff from Woodbury Road. With the widening of Woodbury Road to 4 lanes, there is a need for additional pond capacity. 2 potential pond sites have been identified in blue. The first is located in the northwest corner of the intersection of Waterford Lakes Parkway. It's identified as Pond 3A. The second is located near East Colonial Drive in the triangular parcel west of State Road 408. There is also the potential that Pond 1, located north of Parkberry Drive, may need to be expanded. An environmental analysis was conducted for the Woodbury Road corridor. It identified a forested wetland system at the Waterford Lakes Parkway intersection, which is connected to a large drainage canal. Although there are consultation areas for 3 species within the project limits, the Florida scrub jay, the red-cockaded woodpecker, and the Audubon-crested caracara, they are not anticipated to be found within the corridor. Wading birds, such as the wood stork, roseate spoonbill, heron, and the little blue heron, as well as the American alligator, are protected wildlife species that have the potential to be observed within or immediately adjacent to the project. Wading birds may use the wetland system, drainage ditch, and roadside swales, and the alligators may use the canal and wetland system. The project was also reviewed for cultural resources, and no historic buildings or archaeological sites were identified. Existing traffic volumes along Woodbury Road range from 11,900 vehicles per day south of Lake Underhill Road to 21,000 vehicles per day south of State Road 50. This results in a level of service F, which is failing, within the entire project limits. For reference, Orange County requires a level of service E for compliance. 5 years of crash data was collected and analyzed along the corridor. There were a total of 579 crashes within the 5-year time period, 77% of them occurring at intersections. High crash areas were the intersections of Woodbury Road and State Road 50 and with Lake Underhill Road. There was 1 fatality, a head-on crash, and 141 injury crashes. 10 crashes involved bicyclists or pedestrians. 4% of all crashes were classified as rear-end crashes, which typically occur at intersections, especially when they are over capacity. One statistic to note is that 40% of the crashes were associated with drivers being distracted. The proposed improvements to Woodbury Road will enhance safety. Following slides show how we are going to address traffic and safety issues within the proposed corridor. The development of alternatives will meet the level of service objective for the design year and enhance safety. We are evaluating the following alternatives: no build, transportation system management and operations, and 3, 4-lane widening build alternatives. Build alternative 1 includes a sidewalk and shared use path. Alternative 2 includes sidewalks and on-street bike lanes. And alternative 3 includes everything: a sidewalk on one side, a shared use path on the other side, and on-street bike lanes. Build alternative means there are no improvements to Woodbury Road. The advantages include no construction or design costs, no inconvenience to the public during construction, no impact to utilities, and no additional environmental impacts. However, the disadvantages include increased traffic congestion, reduced level of service, increased crashes, property damage, injuries, and fatalities due to congestion, delay in emergency response, increased user costs due to congestion, and insufficient pedestrian and bicycle facilities. The design year 2047 traffic is projected to range from 19,000 vehicles per day south of Lake Underhill Road to 28,700 vehicles per day south of State Road 50. If Woodbury Road is not widened to 4 lanes, both the roadway and all intersections will fail in the design year. Therefore, Woodbury Road needs to be widened to provide needed capacity. The transportation system management and operations improvements, referred to as TSMO, consist of intersection improvements, signal improvements, and access management improvements. These improvements alone will not provide sufficient capacity to address congestion and safety. Management is the careful planning and location and design of access, including medians and median openings. Controlling access results in fewer conflict points, which improves safety, as the illustrations on this slide show. All of the build alternatives for Woodbury Road include 4-lane widening with a median. When a median is introduced, there will be some locations where vehicles that used to be able to turn left must now turn right to make a U-turn downstream. One study showed that introducing a median resulted in a 27% reduction in injury and fatal crashes. For this project, proposed spacing criteria are 1/4 mile spacing for a full median opening and 660-foot spacing for left turn directional median openings. The concept plans located on the project website depict the proposed median access plan along the corridor. Alternative 1 consists of 4 11-foot travel lanes separated by a 15.5-foot median, a 6-foot sidewalk on one side of the road, and a 10-foot shared use path on the other. This alternative can generally be constructed within existing right-of-way, with some additional right-of-way required at or near intersections. This is what the bridge over State Road 408 would look like with alternative 1. As you can see, we will add additional deck and amenity. Alternative 2 consists of 4 11-foot travel lanes separated by a 15.5-foot median, 6-foot sidewalks on both sides of the road, and a 7-foot on-street buffered bike lanes. This alternative requires up to 10.5 feet of right-of-way to be acquired from one side of the road. This bridge over State Road 408 looks like with alternative 2. Alternative 3 includes all of the pedestrian and bicycle facilities. It consists of 4 11-foot travel lanes separated by a 15.5-foot median, a 6-foot sidewalk on one side of the road, a 10-foot shared use path on the other side, and 7-foot on-street buffered bike lanes. This alternative requires more right-of-way than Alternative 2. Up to 14.5 feet of right-of-way will need to be acquired from one side of the road. That's what the bridge over State Road 408 would look like with Alternative 3. After reviewing all alternatives, the county's preferred alternative is Alternative 1, which consists of 4 11-foot travel lanes separated by a 15.5-foot median, a 6-foot sidewalk on one side of the road, and a 10-foot shared use path on the other. This alternative can be constructed within existing right-of-way, except near the Lake Underhill Road and SR 50 intersection, and it requires the least right-of-way of all 3 build alternatives. It improves mobility for people walking and biking compared to existing conditions, and it minimizes stormwater runoff and the need for additional ponds. This alternative also has the lowest construction cost of the 3 build alternatives. Proposed improvements at the intersection of Woodbury Road and Lake Underhill Road are a balancing act to provide the capacity that is needed to serve the high volumes of traffic that travel through this intersection with a high number of students that cross this intersection on their way to school each day. Proposed intersection capacity improvements include adding right turn lanes northbound, southbound, and westbound, and adding a second left turn lane for the eastbound to northbound Woodbury Road movement. Improvements also include extending turn lanes, so there is sufficient room to store vehicles waiting to turn. In order to maintain safety for the many students that cross here, we also propose that the signal continue to stop vehicles in all directions to allow students to cross the intersection without any conflict from cars. Signal timing will be adjusted to assure ample time for students to cross the intersection with the added lanes. Those improvements at the intersection of Woodbury Road and East Colonial Drive include adding a second turn lane and a right turn lane northbound. The traffic analysis also identified the need for a second right turn lane on Colonial Drive for the westbound to northbound movement. This improvement will not be constructed as part of this project, but will be recommended to the Florida Department of Transportation, as Colonial Drive is a state road. This slide also shows a proposed multifamily residential development that is planned for the southeast corner of the intersection. Public engagement is a very important part of the project. Your opinions and thoughts help formulate the best solution. We utilize newsletters, a project website, meetings such as this, and group and individual meetings as requested. Public hearings will also be held before the local planning agency and the Board of County Commissioners. In hearing about the corridor alternatives and the potential need for additional right-of-way, you might ask, how do I know if my property is impacted? Well, first, the county reviews citizen feedback received through the public meetings like this and other methods like the website comment form and the survey. And will make a final determination of the preferred alternative. Potential right-of-way needs are identified, and then property owners are contacted. The concept boards that are now on the project website identify preliminary right-of-way needs for each alternative. The alternative concept boards contain significant detail, and we encourage you to review them in conjunction with completing the study survey and providing comment on the project website. This project began in April of 2018 and is expected to be completed in May of next year. We anticipate having a second community meeting to present the preferred improvement in November, and then to bring the recommendations to the LPA and Board of County Commissioners for final approval in the spring. The contact information and the contact information for David Dengel, the consultant project manager, are both shown here, along with the website address. This presentation has been recorded and will be made available on the study website. Before we begin questions and answers, we want to remind you to please complete the short survey about the project. A link is provided on the homepage of the project webpage. The survey will be available for 10 days. You will have the opportunity to give your opinions and to tell us which alternative you prefer, as well as to provide additional comment. We will use the feedback we receive to refine the alternatives moving forward. Again, this presentation has been recorded and will be available on the project webpage. Now we're going to begin responding to the questions that have been entered into the Q&A box. If you have not asked a question, you can still do so. We are going to do our best to answer all questions. As a reminder, if you have additional questions after have answered your initial question, please add them to the Q&A box. We have a record of the questions asked during the meeting, and questions and answers will be posted on the website within 10 days of the meeting. Let's get started. David, may I have the first question, please?
I'm sorry, had a little technical difficulty there. No, Blanche, we haven't received any questions yet from the attendees. I don't know if we want to give everybody a minute or two.
Hey, Dave, this is Brian. I do see a couple of questions, one from Scotty Moore and one from John Tenney.
Okay.
You
Yeah,
have
I
to
see them now. Yep, I see them now. Okay, I'll go ahead and read the first one. Will this project also include on and off ramps into the 408 from Woodbury to help with the Waterford Lakes Town Center traffic?
We have met with the Expressway Authority and are not aware of any intent to do that at this time. We know that that has been discussed in the past, but it is not part of this project and would be appropriate to ask the Expressway Authority if they had any future plans to do that.
Okay. The next question is alternative one with Sharrows an option? And those are shared bicycle and travel lane markings, not a separate bicycle lane from the travel lane. It would be a shared travel lane.
I know, and we have not looked at that, but it would be good to include that comment on the webpage so that it then, and we have it now, and we can look at that. It is not something that has been covered as part of this project, but as a suggestion, we can look at that.
Okay.
Yeah, let me just follow up on that. I think that we'll take a look at the MUTCD documentation on Sharrows and look at all the criteria, speed, posted speed, and other issues. And we'll either we'll have that answer perhaps on the website, but certainly by the next community meeting.
Yeah, I will say that the primary consideration during the project has been the safety of students, because the roadway is used by a significant number of students. So we would also look at any data that would be related to how students function in that particular method of transit.
Okay. Let's see. Next question. Consider extending, I think this is more of a comment, consider extending the left turn lanes on Woodbury northbound into Waterford Lakes Mall. The current turn lane can back up onto the bridge over State Road 408. All right. I don't know that there's a response to that. But I can just add that the turn lanes that are shown were developed based on the design year traffic projections and the needs that were identified by those projections. Let's see.
You might want to add, David, that those projections were predicated on the traffic counts of recent. So we've done traffic counts to calibrate that model and then projected those numbers into the future to see what the capacity of those turn lanes need to be in the future.
Okay. All right. The next one is one major need is a special dedicated right-hand turn lane from Woodbury onto Lake Underhill. Will that be provided? This is a big problem for this area when heading south on Woodbury Road towards Lake Underhill.
Go
So
ahead.
a southbound right turn lane.
If you could go ahead and answer that.
Yeah, if you look at the concept plans on the website for all three alternatives, we are proposing to add a southbound right turn lane from Woodbury Road onto Lake Underhill Road. So yes, that will be accommodated and included. All right. Next question is, when would actual construction start and be completed?
The process generally, after the process is finished in the study phase and approved, within a year, if the funding is available and if the Board of County Commissioners selects to proceed, we would select a design consultant to do roadway design. And that process and right away, if everything goes smoothly, can take up to 2 years. If we have right away problems, that can take longer. And then we take another year between the end of right away and selection of a contractor for construction to go into construction. In a perfect world, we could go to construction in 5 years. That's rarely the case. In a very good situation, with funding available and with approval of the Board of County Commissioners, we could enter into construction in roughly 6 years.
Okay, here's another question. Will Lake Underhill eastbound and westbound from Sapphire Place to Waterford Chase Parkway accommodate the higher traffic?
All of the proposed improvements are intended to accommodate the traffic within the county's required compliance level of service in the design year. It's the intent that it will. Did you have anything you wanted to add to that, David?
No, that just typically with roads like this, the intersections tend to dictate the level of service. If you've got a congested intersection, it can cause the roadway to have a poor level of service. And since we're proposing the improvements at Woodbury and Lake Underhill, that should help the Lake Underhill Road itself operate better than it does now as well. Okay, next question is, what is the proposed speed limit of the new roadway? Blanche, I can take that. The existing speed limit is 40 miles an hour, and we don't anticipate changing it from that. All right, so the next one, will pedestrians from Vizcaya neighborhood be able to cross over Woodbury Road like they currently can? Traffic lights at this, or will there be traffic lights at the Vizcaya neighborhood? I am not sure where the Vizcaya neighborhood is. I know that we're not proposing any new traffic signals along the corridor. The only traffic signals will be at Lake Underhill Road, Waterford Lakes Parkway, and at State Road 50. And there will be crosswalks provided at those three locations. We typically wouldn't propose to have crosswalks mid-block unless there's a very heavy movement, kind of a special situation. So I don't know that would be allowed at that location.
We will have pedestrian improvements, and we will have crosswalks each, let's call it a driveway, but anywhere there's an intersection with Woodbury Road. So the markings will be better and it will be an improvement. And we will have improvements for pedestrian movement, but I'm not familiar with any specific improvement at that particular location. That would be, as David said, an additional signal or a mid-block crossing.
Okay, looks like we've got a kind of a follow-up to the Lake Underhill Road question. Will Lake Underhill Road from Sapphire Place to Waterford Chase Parkway be widened to 4 lanes to accommodate the traffic and ease backups that occur now?
The only widening on Lake Underhill Road for this project, the widening that is displayed when we show the intersections, and it's the widening that will be done to accommodate the additional lanes to relieve congestion for the intersection related to this project. That doesn't mean that widenings won't occur in the future, but there's no additional widening intended as part of this project. What's delayed.
Okay. Okay, we've got a question about the traffic counts and whether they were taken pre or post COVID. And I can answer that they were taken in 2019 prior to any effects of COVID.
We were also very careful to take traffic counts when both the University of Central Florida and the public schools and other local private schools were in session. In fact, we delayed the project to be absolutely certain that we were looking at conditions as they are when the students are present.
Yeah, that was a great question. Yeah, we're having real issues with the projects that are coming up. That what methods do we use to collect and project traffic? And there are some products out there that we're utilizing to help us out. But that was a great question.
Yep. Okay. Here is another one that we may have partially answered. Are there going to be any extra traffic signals along Woodbury Road to slow down the speed? As I mentioned, we are not proposing any new traffic signals other than the existing ones at Lake Underhill, Waterford Lakes Parkway, and State Road 50. So no, we wouldn't propose anything to help slow traffic down related to a new traffic signal.
And traffic signal is not an effective measure to slow traffic down. We find that between the lights, they're still speeding if they're going to speed. You introduce a new traffic signal, you introduce new crashes. So there's a cause and effect at that. So we'll only install traffic signals where they're warranted to be placed.
I would like to add that we are doing significant access management on this road, which should improve both the condition and the safety of the road significantly. We encourage you to get on the website. Those maps are very detailed. And as I said, right now we're looking at alternative 1, but you'll see that we are taking a lot of measures to make the roadway more safe. And that probably will help control traffic to a certain extent.
You're right, Blanche. Going from a flush median, a flush shoulder on one side of the road and changing that to a curb and gutter section does calm the traffic. It has an effect like that. The medians in the middle gives a little bit of friction there. We do have a landscaping package that goes with these projects. That gives an extra narrowing of that corridor, let's say, and keeping those travel lanes down to 11 feet also has that effect of controlling the speed on the roadways.
Okay, I just want to apologize. I know that there are people who are trying to read these questions as they come up, and some people have had revisions to their questions and follow-up. So we're trying to keep up with what's going on our best. But the next one is at the northwest side of the Woodbury Road Lake Underhill intersection heading south, there are a number of above ground power poles. Will those lines be relocated underground?
That will be looked at carefully when they go to design. Right now, this study identifies the corridor, and we do know that there are a couple power poles that are going to need to be addressed. We work very closely with the utilities to do that, but we would not have a definitive answer to that question at this time. We would tell you that everything will be addressed during design, but we don't know whether they'll be located underground or not.
Blanche, this is Renzo. Let me make a clarification. We will not be undergrounding any power lines. That's a very expensive proposition, and the county does not underground power lines. If that's desired by the community, that's something that will have to take place with the power provider, but the county will not underground power lines.
You might also notice that in our plan, we're mainly widening to the east. You will see a little bit of right-of-way acquisition on the west. However, like Renzo said, we won't underground. We'll likely move those to accommodate that turn lane that we talked about and the sidewalk. But yeah, Renzo's completely right. That's not our first choice, is to underground that.
Okay. The next question is, do the traffic estimates take into account the continued building of multifamily residences and increased traffic in the area, including the one at the southeast corner of State Road 50 in Woodbury? And Blanche, I'm happy to take that one if you'd like.
I was just going to say, the only thing I would say is we have worked really closely with this development, and the county does have a concurrency process, and developments are required, if they impact traffic, to participate with the county in solutions to those problems. And David, go ahead and you can answer that specifically for this project.
Well, I guess mine is kind of more of a general answer, but it's specific to this project, where when we do the traffic projections, the traffic models that are used consider future land uses that have been approved through the various planning processes. So it's looking 20 years out into the future. And, you know, if that corner is noted as multifamily commercial, then that gets taken into account into the traffic modeling. So yes, those types of things do get taken into account in the traffic projections for these types of projects.
Yeah, as well as the growth factor that we apply as well.
Right. Okay, the next one, directly across State Road 50, the continuation of Woodbury, seems like it would become a funnel, changing from a wide and updated road to a more narrow road. Will that intersection be adapted to help transition the traffic flow?
We don't anticipate making improvements to the state road, so that this study does end at the intersection with State Road 50. And we did not anticipate any improvements for this project north of State Road 50 or within the state's intersection itself.
Yeah, the north side of 50 has a different typical section than what we're proposing, but the distance traveled across that road is enough that the motorists and pedestrians, they won't notice that difference. It's too slight.
Okay, looks like we've got two more as of right now. I have a concern that the right-of-way for the right turn lane from Woodbury onto Lake Underhill will not be long enough. Please make sure you are aware of the number of people who are turning right at that intersection. The right turn lane can be too short.
Dave, you could take that one.
Yeah, I was going to say, you know, I guess that's more of a comment, but as I mentioned, the traffic analysis that is done looks at projecting traffic in our case out to 2047, and it estimates all the turns based on the existing conditions and some of the future planned development. And in a morning peak hour and an afternoon peak hour are considered, and the longest queue length distance that is determined during that is what's shown. So we feel confident that what's shown there should accommodate what's projected to occur in the future. And let's see, this is kind of a follow-up. Vizcaya is near the south end of the State Road 408 bridge. The two neighborhoods in the strip mall intersect there and would benefit from a traffic signal. Entry onto Woodbury, especially with left turns, are problematic. One thing I'll start is that we didn't mention earlier when we talked about traffic signals, is that we looked at some of these heavier side streets that don't currently have traffic signals, and we look at traffic signal warrants at those to see if there are various conditions that would warrant a traffic signal ranging from traffic volumes, left turning volumes, and those types of things. And the analysis that was done as part of the traffic study didn't show the need for any new traffic signals along the corridor. So that's another reason why we haven't shown any new traffic signals proposed for the project.
Yeah, I'd encourage Dennis to take a look at our access management there as well. Looking for feedback on that. We've got an accommodation there for Vizcaya and some of those commercial properties. So take a look at that. Follow back up with us if something else you think you can think of.
Okay, we've got a few more. Are there any considerations to begin construction sooner? 5 to 6 years seems too far, considering the amount of accidents at the intersection between Woodbury Road and Lake Underhill.
Right.
Sure, I can take that. 6 years is pretty quick in road building. In road building time, we want to be sure that we take into consideration all the details that need to be done, utility relocations and design, making sure that the vertical profile of the road is not impacting more than what we had anticipated here. The project goes through phased submittals of construction plans that our engineers pore over. We want to be absolutely certain of the amount of right-of-way that we're going to be acquiring, and all of that is determined in that 2-year design phase. Following that, even though there's not a whole lot of right-of-way acquisition on this project, we still book a 2-year period of time in order to acquire that property. Not all of those properties are, settled quickly. Sometimes we have to, it takes longer to acquire those properties. And then construction on a road like this, we have to maintain traffic throughout the construction. That's what really takes the additional time, the full 2 years. I mean, we've built roads out in the middle of nowhere, and they go very quickly. It's because we don't have all that access management to maintain. So this project is fully funded, so it's a great project. Right of way's pretty minimum. We think that 6 years is a very good estimate if all the phases are one after the other like we think. So, but things come up. I've talked about project duration for many years. Sometimes recessions pop up on me, but if everything goes well, everything goes right, it's conceivable that it could happen in that time frame, and that's pretty quick.
It's very quick for a road.
Okay, here's another one. As a follow-up on crossings along Woodbury Road, there is a mid-block pedestrian crossing at Waterford Point Apartments north of the Woodbury Presbyterian Church. Will this still be accommodated in the proposed alternative 1? I'm happy to take that one if you guys would like me to start.
Yeah, go ahead, David.
We are currently not showing replacing that mid-block crossing at that location. And one of the reasons is that the proposed improvements are going to include the pedestrian accommodations along both sides of the road. So there won't be as much of a need to have to cross mid-block as perhaps there is today. The students can walk down to the intersections at Lake Underhill or at Waterford Lakes Parkway to cross. So we weren't planning to add that back in currently. Okay, the next one is, with the right-hand turn lane onto Lake Underhill, will there be a merge lane on Lake Underhill to help with traffic flow?
Go ahead, David.
We are not proposing to add an additional lane to allow traffic to make that merge. You know, along Lake Underhill and all these roads in Waterford Lakes, we're kind of limited to the amount of right of way that's available. So adding another travel lane out there, you know, could have some impacts to properties along the road. Plus, it's a safer condition for pedestrians, for vehicles to come to an intersection and stop and then have to wait in order to go. So we're not proposing to add a merge lane on Lake Underhill. You know, the additional through lanes and turn lanes at the intersection should help the intersection operate better overall with what we've got shown. Let's see. Can you make sure that the southbound Woodbury to eastbound Lake Underhill left turn lanes are much longer than the existing turn lanes? This intersection has been torn up multiple times to improve and add more storage length. Please make sure these have sufficient length. I would go back again with a similar response to what we had for the southbound right turn lane. The traffic projections out to the year 2047 were considered with these turning movements, and the turn lane lengths were based on what was projected out through the year 2047. So based on all the information that we have now, that they have been sized so that they will accommodate the future expected traffic. Okay, the next one is, what is the anticipated amount of time for the construction itself once all is approved?
Yeah,
Well,
typically 2 years. That's
I was going to say 2 years. Yeah.
Okay. That's all the questions that we've got that we've received. We do have a few comments that people have made that we will include with our meeting summary. So I don't want people to think that we're overlooking the comments that they've made. So we do have a record of those. So I don't know if there's any other questions that people had that they'd like to type in.
Well, let's go back. I'm going to go back to our contact information so that if anybody wants to write that down. And if you think of additional questions or comments, you can please go to the webpage. There's you can contact David, you can contact me. We'll answer your questions. As I indicated, it's best to do that by email right now. That's the quickest way to get to us. Again, encourage you strongly to go to the website. We are not able to show, because of the length of the road, the actual maps with all of the details, and it would really be very helpful for everybody to go to the website, and we call them roll plots, to look at the proposed alternative roll plot maps, and look at the access management and your entrance onto Woodbury Road to see what's proposed, and enter your questions and comments there. The more we get, the better job we can do. So we encourage you to participate.
Okay, I still don't see any additional questions.
Well, it's
So at this point, we can close it out. So on behalf of Commissioner Cordero and Orange County staff, really appreciate everybody having tuned into the WebEx. Again, as Blanche indicated, we encourage you to go to the project website. There you will find all the details associated with the proposed improvements. We know that this project is important to the community, and appreciate your involvement. And again, if you have any questions for staff, please forward those on to us. There will be a second community meeting in the coming months, and then eventually this will go to the Board of County Commissioners for their action. So again, I'd like to thank everybody on behalf of the Commissioner and Orange County staff. Have a good evening.